Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show with local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Join us every week for educational information on subjects such as personal injury, family law, home care, tax relief, wealth management, plastic surgery, and air condition repairs. Now, sit back and get educated by some of Milwaukee's finest experts in their field.
Good morning and welcome in another episode of Ask the Experts here on the Big 920, thebig920.com, streaming nationwide and beyond via the iHeartRadio app. My name is Mitch Nellis, a.k.a. Thunder, and kind of a fun one here because it's Super Bowl Sunday, also the day after my birthday, so happy birthday to me. And we are joined, as we are the first Sunday of every month, by the man, the myth, the legend, John Groth from Groth Law Firm. How you doing, John?
I'm great.
Oh, hold on. I should probably turn your mic on.
You probably should.
Huh? Yeah.
I'm going to lie and say I'm great.
Yeah,
I'm under the weather, but I am fine.
I
totally
noticed you brought some orange juice in with you.
And Kleenex. Yeah.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
If there are any sneezing fits, we'll call our lawyer and get, for cleaning services.
I should have brought Febreze or something, or Lysol, I guess, something to disinfect.
My mom still tells a story that when she or her brothers, they were sick, my grandma would follow them around with like a Lysol or one of those sprays and just spray everything down every time they sneezed or coughed or touched anything.
In our conference room, we have, I think it is a gallon jug of the antibacterial stuff.
Sure.
I mean,
okay.
it's pretty impressive that we have that much of it in the office.
Yeah, I know my kids love the hand sanitizer, which they call handitizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, handitizer.
Yeah,
Okay,
that works.
yeah, that works.
So, sorry, yesterday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Thunder.
That's great.
Yeah.
29 once again. Very, very good.
Man, good for you.
Yeah.
God bless. It's Sunday morning, so that's appropriate. Birthday, good times. The in-laws are in town, so we had a nice dinner with the whole family, the kids. Did a little hibachi and sushi.
Wow.
Which is one of my favorites, but it's also the kids' favorites.
Yeah.
And, I know it's my birthday and everything, but when you have kids, you want to do something that they're going to like as well. Today is the 5-year-old's birthday party. That's why I'm not in Minneapolis.
Okay.
That's why we're able to do this today, because otherwise I'd be in Minneapolis at the Super Bowl. I asked her a couple of weeks ago, I said, Noodle, would it be okay if Daddy went to the football game instead of going to your birthday party? She just looked up at me skeptically and said, no, Dad.
Oh,
yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Well,
good choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Family first, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Good birthday. I'm excited for the game today. So, wearing my Patriots gear and little bummed, of course, still bummed about the Packers and that they didn't have the year they did. But we actually ran a poll on the Big 920 earlier this week. 54% of our listeners think the Packers will be in the Super Bowl next year. So let's knock on wood.
I think that's low.
Or for Micah or whatever.
It's got to be 70 or 80.
I
mean, right?
I
it's be a true fan.
Yeah, I agree.
But I am concerned because the Eagles have Packers connections.
Yes.
So
Doug Peterson, the head coach, and he's bringing Brett Favre in to talk today to the team.
And I guess my issue in that maybe I'm more anti-Patriots than pro-Eagles.
That's fair.
Is just I don't want anybody to be better than Bart Starr. I think Bart Starr was the best quarterback. So now with Tom Brady.
But you can never take Bart 2-0 in Super Bowls and all the championships before that. You can never take those away.
Yeah.
Bart Starr is one of the all-time greats, no doubt about it.
But the more Tom Brady wins, I think that just takes away from Bart Starr. So
listen,
it may be a bad way of thinking it, but I'm just too pro-Packers.
But as I tell people, once you're the GOAT, it does you can pile on and keep being the GOAT, but you're the GOAT.
Yeah.
So and Bart Starr's one of the GOATs, but I think Tom Brady's the GOAT. Anyway, let's get to what we're here for.
Yes.
It's another episode of Ask the Experts, and John Groth from Groth Law Firm has joined us the first Sunday of a number of months now, talking to us about personal injury and fault and making people whole, what goes on a court case, and you've brought some guests in with you in the past.
Yep.
And I know partly I want to get to some new things to cover, but also it's always good to recap because we're on once a month, and so it's good to kind of remind people the process and what to do if you get hurt or injured, or what recourse is, what you need to start recording or taking notes, and all that sort of stuff. There's so many great things that I think you help people remember and be cognizant of during the process. That I kind of want to get back into that as well. So just what should you do? Your car's hit, or I know you mentioned off air slip and falls, and we should get into that sort of stuff, or a dog bite, or whatever it might be. So I kind of swing it to you. And if something happens where you are hurt, when do you start videoing it with your phone? When do you start taking notes on your notepad? What's the best thing to do, and how quickly do you do it?
Well, and I can say that it's something that you might feel awkward about, but it's important to do, is to take notes, take pictures, take audio, take video, whatever that's going to be. And we all have phones nowadays, so it's pretty easy to do. But you shouldn't feel embarrassed. You shouldn't feel awkward about it, because let's say 6 months from then, or a year, people are going to be asking, well, why didn't you?
Yeah.
And well, if you were really hurt, why didn't you do that?
Right.
So when you're in that moment and you just fell, for example, on somebody's walkway at a store, and there was no salt, and it's really slippery, and you have your phone, just take a picture of it. You might feel embarrassed that you're doing it. You might feel bad, but it's important to do it, because I can tell you, hindsight's 20/20. And when you're being judged by somebody else, then that could be an insurance adjuster or a jury ultimately, they're going to ask, why didn't you do that simple task?
Well, and it sounds to me it's really about protecting yourself.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And I do think there's a level of discomfort. Well, I'm walking out of a store and I slipped, and it's like, part of, I don't know if it's society or whatever it is, you're narking on them, or you're
and you're embarrassed.
You're embarrassed that it happened. I didn't mean to fall. I didn't want to fall. I'm generally light on my feet or whatever. Sure. But I think there's, you got to get past that, right?
You do. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to be an advocate for yourself. And you are your own best advocate, when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you can do what you can, so you can gather information, and then that's why all the lawyers that are advertising, and certainly we say the same thing, because really it's true. You stand up for yourself, then you help us. You give us the information so we can help you. Right. So we can advocate for you with the insurance company. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the best way to kind of have that collaborative piece of it, where you can do everything in your power as my counsel, as my attorney, as my representative. The more information that you have, which oftentimes means the more information I provide to you, the stronger the case is going to be.
Correct. Yeah. It's something that, that there's a lot of common sense involved in this, that where you think, well, it would be nice if you had pictures, if you had this, if you had that, if you had notes, if you got all that, witness evidence and statements and such. And it's kind of, again, common sense that, you should have that, but in the moment, you have to follow through with that and then do it and gather that information. And that's something that we give, just as a little example. Whenever somebody calls our office and we meet with them and say, hey, you want to hire us, I give them a sheet that's called a witness list form that is a reminder that when you're at Pick and Save, or you're at Meijer, or wherever you're shopping, and you see somebody,
True Value,
and somebody comes up and said, hey, aren't you the person that fell in front of Red Lobster last week? I just happened to be there. That's your reminder to write down their information so you can gather it, and then we can get a witness. You can get some witness statement, have one of our investigators go out there, get a statement so we can gather the facts. So just those little tips or tricks that you can use to help yourself, which will help the case later on.
We've spent some time talking about car accidents and getting injured in a car accident and who's at fault and that sort of thing, and we can certainly get back to that. But we've been alluding to it today, and I want to get a little more into it about the concept of the slip and fall.
Yep.
And so take us into, again, no case is typical because every case is different. But when we're talking about a slip and fall, what things do people need to know? What are we really talking about in terms of fault, in terms of making yourself whole again?
Sure. Well, with the weather now, we have snow in the past few days, and depending on where you're at, it could be pretty dicey. But
and then we have these 30-degree days where everything melts, and then it freezes again at night, and you wake up and it's frozen in the morning and it's slushy in the afternoon. And
2 weeks ago Friday where it was like 50 degrees, almost 60. It's just crazy. Yeah. And everything melts.
Yeah, and then everything freezes again. So it's crazy.
Well, and like with that, businesses in Wisconsin, the law is that a business has to keep the property as safe as the nature of the property would reasonably permit. Now, that's called the Safe Place Statute.
Okay.
So in Wisconsin, it's different than other states because we have that statute, and it's a higher burden than just plain old negligence, that you didn't act reasonably. You have to keep it as safe as possible, really. So that's why with these slips and falls, it's important to gather the facts and know where you fell, why you fell, and how you fell.
Yeah.
So we can figure out whether there is a claim there, because a business has a responsibility. That's the law, period. If they don't live up to that responsibility, up to that safe place statute, then they are negligent, and then that business should pay for your damages. And that's why businesses have commercial insurance, number one, and that's why you see that there's salt everywhere.
Yeah.
And if they don't put the salt out, they're in trouble.
Take us a little bit into the history. I mean, how did the Safe Place Statute become law in Wisconsin, and why is it law in Wisconsin as opposed to why haven't other states adopted that or looked at it? Is it because there's so much snow and ice in Wisconsin, or are there other reasons, other factors at play as well?
Yeah, I think it's gosh, the Safe Place Statute has been a law for as long as I've been alive, I can tell you. So it's been quite a while. So the history beyond that, I'm not exactly sure. I can tell you that it certainly is part and parcel with Wisconsin and the weather, and being a state that for many, many years was more oriented with safety first, depending on who the governor is and who's in charge of legislature.
Sure.
Whether you have more liberal laws or conservative laws. This is more, one of the more liberal laws.
Yeah.
It's such that the big difference is when you have states that have just general negligence, that tends to be more business friendly. When you have states that have the safe place law, it tends to be more consumer friendly.
Okay.
Because the consumers, their goal is to go buy something, not to worry about whether they're going to fall walking into the store or whether you're in the store and the store is all wet.
Right.
You're, as a consumer, your eyes are going to be on the price tag as opposed to the floor.
Right. You're busy doing what you're there to do.
What you're there to do.
Yeah.
So the law is such that it protects the consumer for what they are supposed to be doing, and that's purchasing product or whatever in the store. And that's why you have, if you're in Walmart, for example, you might hear, code blue or red or whatever those codes are. Every few minutes, certain stores have those kind of codes. So what they're supposed to do is the staff's supposed to stop, look around for any problems, any issues that are on the floor or that could be a safety concern.
Code blue aisle 8.
Or just in general,
housewares or
the code blue in general. So whoever's there drops what they're doing and looks around for what's going on, And then, pardon me, they have those procedures in place, so they are going to make the property as safe as they can make it. Because with these big box stores, with Walmart, with Home Depot, whatever, you have thousands of people who are walking in there
every day. Sure.
If they're at Walmart and you drop your detergent and it's on the ground and a worker sees it, their responsibility is to fix it and make it safe, because if it's clear detergent, somebody walking through or a little kid falls or hurts themselves, that's something that is preventable if they were to have had a procedure in place to prevent that. So,
well, let's talk more about slip and falls when we come back. I
Sure.
want to hear more about kind of how the weather affects things, and certainly right now with snow and with ice and that time of the year. But I'm guessing we also talk about slippery leaves during the fall and that sort of thing as well, or even slippery grass, I guess, during the spring when it's rainy every morning or whatever it might be. He's John Groth with Groth Law Firm. Go to growthlawfirm.com. That's GROTH, growthlawfirm.com. You can also go to maxmycase.com, maxmycase.com. Give them a call, 414-240-0707. That's 240-0707. They're on 111th in Blue Mound in Etosa. You can't miss them. Beautiful building, especially if you're coming in from the west. You see the big sign, and it's right there. He is John Groth. My name is Mitch Nellis on the Big 920, thebig920.com, and the iHeartRadio app. This is Ask the Experts. And welcome back to Ask the Experts here on the Big 920, thebig920.com, streaming nationwide and beyond via the iHeartRadio app. My name is Mitch Nellis, a.k.a. Thunder. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to everybody out there. Our guest today, as he is the first Sunday of every month, John Groth from Groth Law Firm. And John, one of my favorite things on Super Bowl Sunday is to ask everybody, do you have a tradition on Super Bowls, and do you have a favorite thing to eat when you eat Super Bowls? And if you get heartburn, can you sue somebody because you overate?
Oh, boy, that's a great question.
Because that's kind of personal injury.
It's a personal injury.
Personal overindulgence, maybe?
If you're at, let's say you're at someplace else,
yeah,
and they didn't make the food properly,
okay,
and
then you might
it's their fault,
right?
If you just
take pictures of the food,
take pictures of the food,
yep,
go on to whatever you do,
Smart.
Facebook or whatever you do, and do that. But yeah, I think it's pretty hard to sue yourself because you did that.
Do you have a favorite Super Bowl snack or?
It's just like chips and queso. I don't know why I like that, but
queso's great.
I would do that all night long.
Yeah,
chips and queso.
We go big with the chili, and I know a lot of people go big with chili. We more often than not go vegetarian chili.
Okay.
I don't really know why, because I really like chili with meat in it also. But for the past 4 or 5 Super Bowls, we've always made a vegetarian chili. We have a couple friends who go vegetarian or have dietary restrictions, and it's just a big hit, and everybody likes it. So,
see, we do a thing called Skyline Dip, we call it, and it's a Cincinnati thing. My wife's from
Skyline Chili
from Cincinnati.
From Cincinnati, of course.
And Skyline Dip is like Skyline Chili on top of like cream cheese.
So it's really good for you.
It's really good for you.
Yeah,
it's very healthy. It has the dairy in there.
Yeah, there you go.
That's good. And you like
but it's a Super Bowl.
Fritos and it's great.
You get to take a little time off from the diet for the Super Bowl
for a few hours.
Yeah, for a few hours exactly. Yeah. John's here with Groth Law Firm. Go to growthlawfirm.com or maxmycase.com if you've been injured. However you've been injured, John is here to help you through that process and to help make you whole again. So make sure to get in touch with him. And one of the ways that people do get injured this time of year, especially, is through slips and falls. And whether it's outside of the grocery store or the hardware store or the doctor's office or whatever it might be, you were telling us in the first segment that businesses, the onus is really on the business to not just shovel or not just lay salt once, but really to make sure it's as safe as possible at all times. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, and it's a broad category with the slip and fall. I mean, I say slip and fall because that's kind of what's in our vernacular now is slips and falls, but it can be something where there's the concrete is it's heaved up and there's a difference of 1, 2, 3 inches, something like that. Mm-hmm. That's an issue. That's a safe place violation, I would call it. And then there can be where, let's say somebody they made their own staircase going up into a business.
Sure.
And the staircase,
which is always a good idea.
Which is an idea. I don't know if it would be good, but it's an idea. And those stairs may be off code, and if they're not according to code, that again is a safe place violation. But there's a broad category of like premises liability, and we can generally say slips and falls, even though it's trips and falls or things like that too.
Yep. Yeah. So if there's a slip and fall in the snow or on the ice, and you go down, what do you do?
Well,
take me through that. So I fall, I'm down on the ground, my elbow hurts. What do I do?
Well, I think the first and most important thing is make sure you're okay. And if you have somebody with you, if you hit your head or such, I would not move, and I would call for help however you can get it. If it's call 911, if you're by business, ask them to call, have somebody come and assist you. And again, if you are that injured, don't move.
Yeah.
Just sit there so somebody can help and then get you properly into an emergency vehicle and over to the hospital. And from there, just figure out where you are. Are you on a public sidewalk? Are you on their private sidewalk? Things like that. Kind of get a sense of where you are so you can make a report to that business, because you fell, but you want to make sure that nobody else falls the rest of the day. So be a good citizen and tell them, hey, this is what happened and this is why I fell. If it is something where there is no salt on the ground, for example, and that's just basic in Wisconsin, you got to put salt down. Or if it's something where there's like a downspout that's pushing out water onto the sidewalk, and it probably shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Again, be a good citizen and say, hey, I fell because of this.
Yep.
I would then.
And so while there may be blame there, you're not necessarily doing that to blame. You're doing that to help the situation.
Well, because you don't want somebody else to get even more injured than you are. Or
Right.
if you are very badly injured, you don't want that to happen again to somebody else, you know.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a very important thing is figure out where you are and who you can tell, and tell them. Don't do what happens all too often is we have people who call in and they say, hey, I fell because of whatever. And we ask, well, did you fill out a report? No. Well, who did you tell? Well, I didn't get better after a few days, so then I went to my doctor, and then I told the doctor, now what should I do?
Right.
Well, it could be a week later, and how do we have any proof that that is, in fact, where you fell, or do you know exactly, was it on this sidewalk, was it that sidewalk? If it's in a store, it's one thing because you can probably get video surveillance proof.
Sure.
But if it's outside, that's pretty darn difficult.
So if it's outside, like you said, know where you are. And I'm guessing if you're not hurt too badly, that's when you take out your phone and snap a couple pictures.
Or correct. Or if you have somebody with you, have them do that for you.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Even better.
Yep.
I was getting out of the car at my aunt's house and cousin's house a week or two ago, and I slipped and fell and hurt my elbow.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I don't want to press charges though.
Yeah.
I think they did not salt their drive. So that's another question. This is the Safe Place statute. Does that apply to private residences? Does that apply to privately owned? And what's public? What's private? How does that work?
Sure. The Safe Place statute applies to more business type arrangements.
Okay.
So if it's like an apartment complex
So
that
my
has 4 or
aunt's
more,
house, like not so much.
that's general negligence. So
Okay.
was your aunt negligent? I hate to talk about your aunt.
Right. I
Well,
mean,
was this random person negligent?
Lovely woman, right? Yeah.
Because he or she did not put salt down or didn't shovel properly.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that you see is sump pumps. Is that there are some pumps that people will, on their own accord, have the discharge go right by the sidewalk.
Right.
Now that's a residential area, so
Yep.
it does not apply, or the Safe Place statute does not apply. But that's probably negligence
Yep.
because you have something that in really any weather, water can get pushed out, and then if it goes right on the sidewalk, it's going to create an instant slippery condition.
Yep.
And it happens over and over again. You created that problem. That's probably negligence.
You mentioned earlier that we live in Wisconsin. It's the law with the Safe Place statute, and there are other states that don't have this. Do Wisconsin businesses lobby against this law? Is that something that ever comes up that businesses get together and say this is too, this is too onerous or this is too stringent or whatever it might be?
Sure. There's always, I guess, attacks on civil justice, but there's always something going on in Madison trying to either strengthen consumer rights or strengthen business rights.
Sure.
As of right now, there has not been anything that's been introduced that I know of to water down the Safe Place statute.
Okay.
There have been attempts to do other things in the past with like the collateral source rule or workers' compensation or things like that would really affect consumers' rights, or just in general citizens' rights. But right now, the Safe Place statute isn't under attack. But it's only Super Bowl Sunday, so tomorrow's Monday. It's a whole new work week.
Sure. So you never
know.
When I think of slips and falls, often, and I think I've made this clear, often I think of, you slip on the ice outside or something like that. But you've mentioned a couple of times, what happens if you slip inside the store?
Sure.
And what if, so you're in a store and somebody spilled laundry detergent, or I'm in the supermarket and another customer spilled milk. And the business, it's their job to clean up the milk, but maybe there's not enough, maybe it just happened and I turned the corner and I didn't see it or whatever. How do you prove that? Who's negligent? Is the business always negligent no matter what? And again, do you follow the same, you've fallen, have somebody else take pictures? What do you do? What steps do you take if you've fallen inside a business?
Sure. And I guess a couple of things, but when it comes to these kind of laws, it's really, I think, common sense. It's, you're being a good citizen. You want to use your best judgment so you can protect yourself and certainly protect others.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it's a law that's been codified simply to reinforce the fact that we should be good citizens to each other, right?
Makes sense.
So with inside the store, for example, and I could tell you a whole bunch of stories. I'll tell you two.
Sure.
I had a case where there was something that fell on the ground. It was some kind of detergent, maybe it was clear, and an employee of the store saw this, noticed it was a problem, left to go get their sign to go put down so they could tell everyone else in the store, stay away, watch out. So they left. I don't know how many minutes they were gone, but they were gone. And in that time, somebody walked by, fell, and really injured their shoulder and had some big, pretty bad problems with surgery and such.
Yeah.
In that case, the store policy was once you go there, you stop, you wait. You are the sign, per se. I mean, you are the person that has to tell everybody, watch out, and then you call for somebody else with your walkie-talkie to bring a sign. You don't notice it and leave.
An area. Makes sense.
So last weekend, we were at my kids play, just club kind of basketball stuff, and
sure.
I have an issue with coffee. I drink too much coffee probably, so I had coffee in my hand.
I'm right there with you, my friend.
And it was early in the morning, and my 6-year-old grabbed my arm, and my coffee spilled on the ground, and there was a hazard at this school.
Yep.
So I did what I have deposed others, and I sat there and I said, now you go get some napkins from or whatever from the bathroom, towels
or whatever,
and come back, and I will wait here and
make sure nobody falls.
And that's probably that's the common sense thing to do.
Yeah.
But that's what the law is really trying to force us to do. Okay, that's what you should be doing. So the business isn't always responsible no matter what. It's not something where it creates strict liability or like an insurance policy, really, where they're ensuring that it's always 100% safe.
Okay.
You certainly have a duty, everybody has a duty, just to look out for what's in front of you.
Right.
To see open and obvious risks.
You mean just as good human beings?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, well, yeah, certainly. And you just can't walk into a business and close your eyes and say, I'm now going to trust that it's 100% safe, because nothing is 100% safe.
Sure.
So you have to look out for
your surroundings.
Look out for your surroundings. And I've had a number of situations where we've had people who have called, and there have been spills on the ground in those cases that we have not taken because they're bright blue or green or whatever it is, and if the floor is white and somebody sees a big spill of red or whatever,
blue goop,
you gotta look out for what's in front of you, and that's an open and obvious risk. So in that regard, we would not take that case. Some other law firm might, but we did not, because we didn't think that was a valid violation of the Safe Place statute.
Seems like common sense needs to take over at times.
It should prevail most of the time, hopefully. Yeah.
He's John Groth with Groth Law Firm. Go to GROTH, growthlawfirm.com, maxmycase.com. Give him a call, 414-240-0707, 240-0707. They're 111th in Blue Mound in Tulsa. More coming up with John on how you can protect yourself and what rights you have if something does go wrong. My name is Mitch Nellis. This is the Big 920, thebig920.com, the iHeartRadio app. You're listening to Ask the Experts. This is Ask the Experts on the Big 920, thebig920.com, streaming nationwide and beyond via the iHeartRadio app. Mitch Nellis with you this Sunday morning, Super Bowl Sunday. Pre-game coverage started 14 weeks ago, so, it's wall-to-wall action. Well, no, not really, but you can hear the Super Bowl right here on the Big 920, Big 920. Probably not big920.com. We probably can't stream it, but on the Big 920, kickoff a little bit after 5:30. It's the Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is Ask the Experts, and as I am the first Sunday of every month, joined by John Groth from Groth Law Firm. Sometimes he comes by himself. Sometimes he brings some friends. Today he's by himself because I'm sure all his compatriots are getting ready for their Super Bowl parties.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get the banana bread in the oven pretty.
What else do you do? Yeah,
I'm gonna make some banana bread. I've got some bad bananas in the freezer. I'm gonna make chocolate chip banana bread today, so it'll be ready for the game.
It'll smell good. The house will be great.
I'm gonna make 2 loaves, and because I believe I owe you a dessert or a present because you told me once that someone else brought you something and I didn't. So I'm going to make 2 loaves. One will be for tonight and one I'm going to bring to you.
Okay.
Chocolate chip banana bread works?
Monday morning, I'll put it on my calendar. Yeah,
Perfect.
tomorrow you can
Yeah.
drop it by. Yeah.
My mother-in-law, who's visiting right now, flew in Thursday night and she brought banana bread with her. It had some walnuts in it and no chocolate chips. That's not how I roll.
Yeah.
I'm a chocolate chip banana bread kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I know some people debate, is that the true essence of banana bread? I don't care. I want chocolate chips.
But especially when it's warm and gooey, that is good stuff.
Now, if I bring it to you tomorrow morning, it might not be warm and gooey, but I'm guessing you have a microwave in
I
the
have a
office.
microwave. Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent.
And one of our offices is like really hot.
Oh yeah.
Just
So it just
with the southern
stays
facing, stays warm.
gooey on
We'll keep that in there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. John Groth with Groth Law Firm. Again, go to growthlawfirm.com or maxmycase.com. And so for full inside radio, John often shoots me an email and says, hey, we could talk about this or this, gives me some ideas. And I always like hearing about cases and about stories, and I want, without names or anything like that. One of the things he wrote this week was third-party and first-party claims. And for full disclosure, I have no clue what that means. So I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to say, John, take it away. We can discuss third-party and first-party claims. I'm going to listen and take notes while you tell me what that is, so then I will have some follow-up questions for you.
And I will grade your questions to see if you actually were, in fact, listening or just dreaming about a Patriots win.
Yeah. That's
so
maybe a little bit of both.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So third-party and first-party claims.
Well, and what it deals with is kind of going back to that trip and fall, slip and fall, premises liability. There's, I guess what I'll do is I'll kind of give you a real life example from a case that I had not too long ago.
Always best to do it that way.
So there is I'll say FedEx. A FedEx delivery man is coming to a business and is going to deliver a package. Walks up the stairs. The stairs are right next to a downspout. The downspout had pushed water, released water all over the stairs. There was a freezing over the night, and guy, as he walks up the stairs, falls.
That is not awesome.
Falls right on his back. He had a big bruise in his back. He had to have back surgery.
Ooh.
Problems all around. So he's on the job. So he's a FedEx delivery man. So what that means is he has a first-party claim with workers' compensation.
Okay.
And workers' compensation then stands in the shoes of health insurance, and they're the ones that are going to pay for not only his medical care, but also his time off work, temporary total disability, partial permanent disability, things like that. Now, that's a workers' compensation claim. That's, in essence, a first-party claim.
Okay.
There's also...
You're hurt on the job.
You're hurt on the job.
Okay.
Because of
your job duties.
Because of your job duties. And because of the workers' compensation grand compromise, it doesn't matter who's at fault. Workers' comp is going to pay for that claim because you were on the job. Now, there's also a third-party claim because that business who had the downspout that released water onto the steps, they were in violation of what I would say the Safe Place statute.
Absolutely. I have Safe Place statute circled right here.
I can see it.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and I would have said they would violate that. It sure sounds like it because
I agree.
As we've talked about, you have to make it as safe as possible, and they certainly, by having ice on their stairs, were not making entrance to their business as safe as possible.
Correct. And so that's the third party claim against the business owner who should have done what we all do, is chip away the ice or put salt down, whatever you have to do, or simply move the downspout.
Sure.
So that's the first party versus the third party claim. And how this gets kind of interesting is you might have workers' comp who will say, you know what, we are going to cut you off as of this point because we think you're not injured anymore. Okay. And then they send you to a doctor, and then health insurance starts paying, and because workers' comp is not. And how does that all affect? Is that going to affect your bottom line as to what you might get? Is there a first-party claim there for workers' compensation? And then is there also what's called medical payments policy for the commercial building? Are they going to pay something just as a matter of strict liability for med pay if you're injured on somebody's property? Sometimes they'll have a policy of $5,000 or $1,000, and they'll just pay that out for your copays or deductibles or things like that. So how does that interplay with all this? And then the third-party liability policy, and how does that interplay in all this? When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, because workers' comp is involved, the first-party claim, workers' comp with that grand compromise, they say that we'll pay no matter who's at fault, but in the end, we will get paid back according to this formula. And that formula is something that has to be approved by a judge, either a circuit court judge or an administrative law judge. So it's different than, let's say, a rear-end auto accident that can settle before you have to go into court, and you don't have to have any official sign off on it.
Okay.
Unless you're a minor, then you do. But if you're an
Right.
adult, you don't have to have that. This is different because workers' comp and the workers' compensation laws, Department of Workforce Development, they are saying that they need to make sure that the insurance companies, the injured party, are all abiding by the law, so workers' compensation insurance gets paid back what they are due under the law.
So the first thing that jumps out to me, and
Yep.
I don't, again, I'm coming into this totally clean. I don't understand any of this.
Sure.
Coming in is, so if I'm the FedEx worker who fell on my back and hurt my back and needed surgery, am I part of this process, or is this between workers' comp and the insurance company for the third-party business? Why do I have to get involved in that? That's between them. Workers' comp pays for my bills. My bills get taken care of. The third party is responsible because of the Safe Place statute. Do I have to be part of this process, or am I out of it by now?
It's a fantastic question. And
Yes. I knew I could do it.
I'll give you an A on that one.
Thank you.
So it's interesting you say that. I'll give you another real-life example. I had a case where under Wisconsin law, workers' compensation can file a lawsuit. They can pursue the claim with or without your help as the victim.
Okay.
As the employee, workers' comp can say, we're going to sue that building.
Right.
The issue is workers' compensation can get paid back what they paid out.
Right.
Is workers' compensation going to ask for your pain and suffering, which you have a right to get paid for pain and suffering for those if there's a third-party claim?
Okay.
You can't get pain and suffering under first party. Under
Got it.
workers' comp, there's no pain and suffering.
Okay.
Under your third-party claim, there is pain and suffering. And you can help maximize your case. If you're married, for example, some of the money might go for the loss of society of your wife or
Sure.
your husband.
Yep.
If your husband is injured and he usually mows the lawn, I'll say, but he's not able to, so you had to mow the lawn
or
pay somebody else.
Neighborhood kid to do it or whatever.
So that's something that is a loss, but that's the spouse's claim. That's not covered under the workers' compensation formula, so that's a way to, in essence, maximize the claim. The workers' compensation insurance has the right to pursue the claim on your behalf,
Okay.
and they could, and they have in the past, filed a lawsuit and not brought in the spouse of the injured party.
Right, because
So-
they're just worried about getting their money back. It's not necessarily their concern to make somebody else completely whole beyond their responsibility.
Correct. So there have been situations where, and this is, it was one of the delivery companies, the injured person said bluntly, I did not want to hire an attorney. I'm not that kind of person.
Okay.
And the insurance company for the delivery company filed a lawsuit a couple days before the statute of limitations ran.
Right.
And the statute of limitations for Wisconsin is 3 years.
Okay.
So right before the statute ran, they filed a lawsuit on behalf of the injured party and the insurance company, the workers' comp company,
Because they wanted.
because they wanted their money back.
Right.
And they
And there was
dragged this guy
And
in.
there was a third party who was responsible.
Was
for it.
responsible.
Okay.
Yep. And they forced this guy to get involved in litigation.
So
and then,
why did he need to get involved, though? Couldn't they say, this is the case, this is what happened, these are all the facts, you need, insurance company, you need to pay us back?
he's a necessary party, so
Okay.
he has to be named as a.
So
As a party.
he was subpoenaed and he had to,
So his name was on the caption too.
Okay.
And he did not hire an attorney because he didn't want to. And that's why
at that point, shouldn't you have an attorney just to protect
it
and advise, hey, if they're going to be doing this, you might as well bring in pain and suffering so that you can be made whole.
And what happened was he noticed he got served with a summons and complaint saying he was, in essence, an involuntary plaintiff, it's called.
Okay.
And then he called us and said, I don't know what to do. This is weird that I'm a plaintiff. I didn't hire an attorney, but what should I do?
Yeah.
And then we had to have that conversation that workers' compensation has the right to do this.
Right.
And they're really forcing you along for the, you're just on the back of the bus at this point, and you just have to wait for them to push forward. Or you can hire an attorney and then become more of an active plaintiff and hopefully take turns driving the bus.
Are you allowed to tell us how it went?
In that case, in just
And every case
general
is different,
terms,
yeah.
In that case, we settled the claim. We then referred him off to a attorney, a very good friend of ours who does workers' compensation claims because
Sure.
he was cut off for certain problems that they didn't want to pay for.
Okay.
So we did that. The thing that concerned us was they did not name his wife.
Okay.
And so we tried to get her in the case after the statute had already run,
Okay.
and we couldn't because the statute had already run. So it's something that, that's why all those commercials on TV or wherever else, they say, call an attorney right away
Yeah.
so you know what your rights are, so you know how to protect yourself. And in
And
case,
that doesn't mean you have to hire an attorney right away, but
just to know.
Exactly.
Just to know. Yeah, knowing is power, or knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely. I was going to make some funny Patriots connection, but I figured that'd be an awkward segue, so I didn't want to go there. He's John Groth from Groth Law Firm, Groth, growthlawfirm.com. You can also go to maxmycase.com, maxmycase.com, or give him a call, 414-240-0707, 240-0707. My name is Mitch Nellis on the Big 920, thebig920.com, and the iHeartRadio app. You're listening to Ask the Experts. And we're back. It's Ask the Experts here on the Big 920, thebig920.com, streaming nationwide and beyond via the iHeartRadio app. Following us, I'm sure we'll get right into Super Bowl 52 coverage live from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the New England Patriots will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Tom Brady looking for his 6th ring in 8 Super Bowls. And today we're joined by John Groth from Groth Law Firm. And before we get right back into it, I'm born and raised in Boston, but I've lived in Milwaukee since I was 14. And part of me, as much as I am a Patriots fan, part of me watching the Super Bowl and watching all the festivities does make me mad and upset that I don't really think Tom Brady's that much better than Aaron Rodgers. And thinking about how Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization puts together its roster every year versus the negligence that Ted Thompson perpetuated upon Packers Nation year after year after year, I got to admit it frustrates me a little bit because Tom Brady's about to play in his 8th Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1.
Yeah.
That's not, their discrepancy in talent is not an 8 times talent.
We had such a run where you have Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers for decades.
Yeah,
and
25 years.
And we only got to the Super Bowl three times.
3 times total.
3 times. It doesn't make much sense.
Nope.
As to is it the Belichick? Is it his skill? Is it luck? Obviously, I think it's when you're going 8 times, it's certainly more skill than luck. But there may be some cheating involved in there. No offense.
I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you speak.
It's very frustrating. I agree with you. And it's what's that saying? Like the saddest thing in life is lost opportunity or lost potential, something like that. And that's what it is. We had all this potential for so many years, and every year that Brett Favre got older, and every year now that Aaron Rodgers is getting older, we're losing that. The window's getting closer and more closed.
Yeah, it's closing.
It's closing.
Yes. And so, there's still time left with Aaron, and certainly we hope that things turn around there. Well, John's here from Groth Law Firm, growthlawfirm.com, maxmycase.com. And I asked him something before the show started today, and he said it'd be an interesting thing to talk about. I'm in advertising and marketing, and I see billboards all around the city, and I listen to radio commercials and TV commercials, and it seems like many of the personal injury law firms start commercials with "injured?" ? Whether it's on a billboard, I've seen it on billboards. I've heard it numerous different law firms in their advertising, and so I kind of said, why does everybody use that word "injured"? And is there a different word, or is there another opportunity to set yourself apart? And I just kind of want to pick your brain about that, using that word "injured," and what that connotates in the legal sense.
Sure. And the way that I look at that is there are two sides to every case. There's liability and damages. Okay. So if you're looking at a case and it's a trip and fall, for example, I look at that as the best worst scenario is 50-50. Okay. Because the unknown rule in Wisconsin is if you as the victim are 51% responsible, then the at-fault party wins. You can't recover anything because, in essence, you are at fault. The victim's at fault.
So you have to be
49,
at least 49% or better or lesser at fault.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So liability and damages. So with liability, if you take it to like a trip and fall or slip and fall, you look at it. It's 50-50 on the worst best day, and then you look at what are the damages, and something that you're not quite aware of in the non-legal world is that whatever your damages are is reduced by what your negligence was. So if it is 50-50, you don't get all your damages.
So it's X minus X equals 0.
Yeah. So if you have a $10,000 claim, and you're 50-50 responsible, you can only recover $5,000 from the at-fault party. So that's why I think people look up there and they have injured. They're looking at what are the damages side, because economically and as a business for a law firm, you want to look at what are the damages and what kind of damages are out there. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Is it something where somebody was horrifically injured and it is a 50-50 split?
Yep.
Then that law firm is probably going to say, okay, it's worthwhile to go and pursue that claim.
Because the damages are so great.
Yeah. So you're going to look at things, and instead of, from the marketing side, instead of saying, are you less liable, then are you less responsible than somebody else? Call us. You know, it's more so, what are the damages? Injured, are you injured? And then call us. And then we could do kind of the calculation to figure out whether it's a viable claim.
How do you do that calculation? I mean, how do you figure out I'm 51% liable, I'm 43% liable, I'm 29% liable, I'm 87% liable? I mean, is there, if I get 3 hits and 4 at bats, I'm hitting 750.
Yeah.
How do I get this percentage?
Oh boy, I wish there was some online website I could go to.
You're saying there's no mathematician? There should be a mathematician.
There should be a mathematician.
Yeah.
There's not.
Okay.
In the workers' compensation world, they kind of have a calculamagician, or however I would say that.
I like that.
Sure.
You nailed it.
I tried.
Yeah.
They have that because there's a formula, and there are a certain number of weeks that are apportioned or that are calculated for a certain injury.
Okay.
So loss of a finger can be between like 6 and 60 weeks or something like that of pay.
Okay.
That's different for the rest of the world, rest of the third-party claims.
Right.
It's more goes back to what's your experience as an attorney in the courtroom, because ultimately the jury, 12 people, are going to decide whether it's 60-40, 50-50, 100-0, whatever that split is.
So do you have to know what county the case is in, because different counties have different stats on how they figure that out?
Yeah,
or do judges sway that? So you need to know who the judge is, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors. It's just in general, you can imagine that Milwaukee is different than Waukesha.
Sure.
Just based on the politics of it.
Yeah.
And certain injuries are going to be different in certain areas. If you're injured in a workplace injury because of a product that malfunctioned, and it's in Milwaukee, it's probably a better situation than if you're somewhere else. But I think Rock County and Janesville and that communal or that community experience is just as good for those kind of injuries, just because of what Janesville and what your odds are for the number of people that have worked in maybe that kind of factory or that kind of situation.
Yeah.
So,
So there's all types of variables.
there's tons of variables, and there's a whole cottage industry in our world of, you see these movies of these jury consultants that'll come out there and say, okay, this is your jury pool. This is what's kind of going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that at our firm where we will have, you have a mock jury and you have people who you bring in just to see what they think of a certain case.
Okay.
We've done polls where you just do random phone calls to a community to see what they think of certain things to kind of get your feel for
get a feel for the community.
What you should sell to the jury about your case. Whether it's this is more important or that's less important.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
That's interesting.
It is.
Yeah. I never thought of it like, it makes sense that every jury is different and every community is different, but I never thought of the concept of, preparation and really finding out more about the community, about a certain, whether case or issue or just an overall perception of lawyers or of workers' comp or of car accidents or whatever it might be.
Well, and it kind of goes to the stuff that we know that, the contributory negligence, the comparative negligence law, that if it's 50-50, your damages are cut in half, things like that, we know that, and we know that we need a jury to do certain things and to understand certain things. So you want to figure out who's going to be on your jury. Will they, what life experience do they have?
Sure.
That may help you or hurt you.
Yeah, and how oftentimes do you have a jury and you don't even know somebody's, as much research as you can do.
Yeah.
You can't know everything about everyone.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
you don't know who, somebody's ex-brother-in-law might have been or whatever it might be.
And that's important that you ask those questions to try to figure it out when you're doing your jury selection.
Yep.
That's something we have
and
a
that's
trial
and that's why it's important to have experienced lawyers on your side who know what they're doing.
who have tried cases in front of juries in the past. Certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
John, it's
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure.
Oh, it's great.
All right, who you got today? Yeah, you got a prediction?
I got to go with the Eagles. I'm sorry.
I mean, you want the Eagles to win, or do you think the Eagles will win? Because those are two different questions.
Boy, they looked really good.
They did. At
They looked
home.
really good. Yeah.
Yep, they're not playing at home, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
The Vikings could have played at home. I think we can all have joy that the Vikings are not playing at home.
Didn't the Vikings trademark Minnesota Miracle or something after?
I believe so, yeah.
That was they just
Remember
jinxed
that
themselves.
lasted a whole week?
They
Hey, good job, Vikings. Great job.
the jinx.
Well, enjoy the game. Enjoy your chips and queso.
Thank you.
And
Skyline dip.
Yeah, Skyline
Enjoy
dip.
your banana bread. Is that what you're going to have?
Chocolate chip banana bread.
very good.
And there might be some in your future as well.
Awesome.
Hey, John, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
He's
Great.
John Groth from Groth Law Firm. That's growthlawfirm.com, Groth. Also, maxmycase.com. Find him or you can call him, I should say, 414-240-0707. That's 240-0707. He's at 111th and Blue Mound in Tosa. If you're driving by, pop in. Tell him you heard him with Mitch Nellis, a.k.a. Thunder, on the Big 920, thebig920.com, streaming nationwide and beyond via the iHeartRadio app. Happy Super Bowl Sunday, everybody. You've been listening to Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in to Ask the Experts. Join us again next Sunday morning between 8 and 9 for more Ask the Experts from local experts in their field. 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 Field.